get out of this.
There we go. We're back again with Rick Weible for part 2 of the election infection. The incredible 47 days of voting, 42 days, whatever. 40 days in the desert.
46 days, yeah. I mean, it's just,
days.
It's crazy what we were able to experience. It's like I don't know if we should just bridge, the gap, between what's possible and what the desires are of the politicians. And so those of us voters, that sit over here on this rock, we just got to get over there and get on their side. And
bridging that gap would be an amazing feat of engineering.
Right, but no, we're just kind of stuck in the muck, stuck in the weeds. That's where we are.
Right. Bugs.
But we can always dream. So the heavens, are always around us. So
right, keep reaching for the stars and keep your feet on the ground.
Yep. And so, but it's life's always a beach. So
yeah. What are you gonna do? These are some sad facts we're laying down, and what's some of the most astonishing things that you found with the data when you were looking at it? What are the things that really made you go,
Oh, geez. Well, it was interesting to see college students be able to request absentee ballots. I don't know how they got them, because they didn't have a street address and they didn't have a room number.
Just a P.O. box.
No, just the street name of the college dorm that they lived at. And especially down in Carlton, it was like, yeah, there's like 600 ballots that I don't know how they got there. I just can't explain it.
So that's just sign them up. And is there any way to verify that they didn't vote more than once?
There is, but that'll take quite a bit of work. And we actually have seen some duplicate records that show up in the voting history. And so we're looking into that to kind of figure out what happened. We do see in the Secretary of State's website that they actually have indicated that some duplicate ballots came through, but they did a good job of rejecting them at the county levels. So at least we have some good people there at the front lines, so at least we see some data, but the numbers are low. Do we think that there's more? It's plausible, but because we don't have a complete record set yet, it's hard to follow that up. And that's where it's just laughable. So if we sit here and we certify an election on November 24th, and 5 days after that, we're still missing 40% of the data, well, really, how can we do a legitimate challenge on anything or even a legitimate investigation if you only have until December 2nd to get a case in the, your foot in the front door to basically have a court look at the evidence?
Much less here we are approaching the end of February and we still don't have all of the data.
Correct.
It's astonishing. So in a sense, we still don't really know who won the 4 electors in Minnesota because the data's not in. And it's not likely to, who's working on this now? It's a fait accompli. It's all over, right? But missing nearly 40%, you're 1% away from missing 40% of the data in a set, but the winner is declared already.
Right. It's laughable, and especially when you look at, there were some interesting numbers. We started looking at a couple of the races. So, for example, in CD2, Craig's race. So she won that with allegedly won it. Allegedly certified with a 2% victory. But at that point in time when I was looking at it in December 16th, I had a 6% margin of error because I'm missing 6% of the ballot. And so in one of the early cases that an attorney had filed was like, well, how can you call this election when we don't have information on 6% of the electorate to where we could literally go through and potentially do an honest review of any of these ballots or voters? And so then I started doing some work to kind of dig in a little bit deeper. And I had literally, her margin of victory was, I want to say, around 9,600 votes. And I had found 12,000 voters that I had questions on regarding the election. Because we had bad addresses, we had erroneous birth dates, we had issues where they were in nursing homes, but then were later removed out of the voting rolls. And so it was just, and then we had the dorm rooms where we had no front address and no apartment number for college dorms. And so we had 12,000 of these questionable votes without even really looking that hard. It was about 4 hours worth of looking. And sure enough, we had more than the margin of victory. You know,
and that was just one CD. That was just CD2.
that was CD2.
So if you extrapolate, yeah, if you had that acceptable margin of error and you stretch that across Minnesota, that's really astonishing.
It is. And here's the other thing too. So we were kind of watching Dakota County, a few of us, just to kind of see what would happen. And just how fantastic it was. So there's this little roulette wheel random draw of PERs where they basically do a 1% to 2% selection of these are the precincts that we're going to do a random recount in. And one of them in Dakota County, they literally showed up to do the recount. In all 840 absentee ballots were completely missing. They didn't know where they were.
All of the absentee ballots were missing. That's yeah. Well, that is so.
They found them a week and a half later, though. Rest assured, don't worry about that. So everything's okay.
So
don't worry. This is the same county that had 2 Dominion printing machines overnighted after the election.
Oh, they brought in printing machines after the election. Yeah.
I mean, it's okay to order for next year and stuff like that. And because you love this whole process, overnight them right away, right?
Yeah, overnight them.
Why did we need to overnight those?
You got to print some ballots. What about were there? Can we talk about Dominion voting machines in Minnesota, or is that like taboo right now? Should we stay away from that a little bit, maybe?
We stayed away from it because we kind of look at that as secondary. It's not as important. Dominion isn't really all over Minnesota. It's in pockets in Minnesota. There's another system that's much more prevalent in Minnesota. And I'm actually going to take the CEO of Dominion at his word. And I have no problem with the Dominion machines because he is absolutely right when he says, if you have a question, pull the ballots out and count them by hand.
There you go.
That is the correct statement, and I absolutely agree with him. But what I do, and as leaders in Minnesota, so I was a former mayor in Minnesota for 10 years. And whenever a resident would have a question regarding policies, procedures, or, hey, I want to see, the file on my house to kind of know, because I just bought this house, can I see all the permits that were pulled? Oh, absolutely, here it is. And that's the way we should treat data, is that this is the voters' data. They pay for this. And we should be willing on both sides to go and grab a few of any machines, and our law allows that and does that by state statute, where it takes a certain percentage and just says, we're going to go randomly take a look at these. So far in all of those random instances, there have been no variations of significance where the machine count is different than the hand count. And while I was serving as mayor in St. Bonnie, we actually had a tabulator that was selected once, and it was exactly the same. And there was, so from my own jaded experience as a mayor and kind of being on a certification board for the city of St. Bonifacius, I have a good comfort level with the machines and kind of where they're at. and I'm glad Minnesota by state statute has that randomness. But because this election had so much fuel put to it, I think it would have behooved more of the county auditors just to say, you know what we're going to do, just to raise the bar here, because there are so many questions nationally. We should just come together as both parties. You know what we're going to do? We're going to take a couple of these machines just randomly, and we're going to go ahead and sit down together, and we're just going to go ahead and count these. Even though we all can't be in the same room, tell you what, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a live feed, Zoom meeting. Everybody can jump on it, and we're just going to go ahead, put the camera right on there, and we're just going to go right through the ballots and count them out. And we'll post it on YouTube. And guess what that does? It establishes integrity in the election. What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
So I wish more people would have done that. And so when Rudy Giuliani challenges these states that he is talking to, some of them suing, others, he was talking to legislatures, why aren't you just being transparent? And he was even offering to pay for it. Now, what's interesting in Minnesota is by state statute, these county auditors are supposed to keep all of the relevant data and the physical ballots and the envelopes for 22 months after the election.
Oh, are we doing that?
I sure hope so. And so I would like to have some voters actually go in and look. And so like when we looked at earlier that Fillmore County, I think you ought to go look at it. Hennepin County, because some of those are late. Yeah, I think maybe we ought to look at it. Let's do a little sampling. And with what happened in Dakota County, absolutely.
Do I have the ability as a voter to go in and ask to see my own ballot?
No, and here's why. They don't know where your ballot is because part of the privacy rules with the way that the ballots work, they're not supposed to be identifiable or tied to a specific voter.
Mm-hmm.
So basically when you go in, that's why you get a number, and then who knows what order the person's going to put the ballots into the tabulator, because you might be a faster voter than the other three that are voting at the same time than you are. And they may have gotten the ballot ahead of you. So that creates that randomization, which is a good thing. And so we never want a system where we can actually tie a way a person votes with a voter. Mm-hmm. And the reason why is we don't want to end up with a system where in the future, any voter could end up with retribution. So the sanctity of the elections are important in that, in my view, in that regard.
Yeah,
so
that makes sense. So. We would never want to have a system where the supporters of one political candidate end up being vilified and sought after for retribution. Right.
Today.
Well, I've appreciated this chat, and thank you so much for all these sad facts that we've had fun bantering about this evening. And thanks a ton. And Ricky Weible, thanks for joining me. And I'd like to, if you have any preferred social media contacts that you'd like to send me, I'll include them in the description below this video.
Yeah,
okay.
So feel free to take a look at Swamp Watch. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it, and hope all your viewers are doing well. And let's hopefully make some changes here so we can make this better. It's no longer a laughing matter.
we have to laugh, otherwise we'd be weeping softly in a fetal position. So
yeah,
terrible. Yeah, we gotta. It's really an astonishing time we live in. Thanks again. We got to make it better. Thank you.
Yeah, we will. So, all right. Thank you.